It's a pleasure to welcome to the show Mackenzie Porter, Southwest Missouri. Is that
Missouri Western.
Missouri Western? Missouri starting goalie for Missouri Western. Mackenzie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've seen a picture of you as a 9-year-old playing lacrosse goalie. I want to hear the story of jumping into the goal for the first time. Is that it? Is that at 9, or do we go back even further?
So when I first started playing lacrosse, it was in second grade. And I remember it was for like our town program. And I remember looking at the guy who ran that program, and I was like, I want to be a goalie. And he looked at me and he was like, you're too little to be a goalie. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then once I got in fourth grade, I like told my dad that that's what I really wanted to do. And ever since then, like I didn't change it.
How could you be too little to play goalie in second grade? Everyone's too little, right?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Maybe I was littler than the other people, but I did play up on. We didn't have a second grade team, so
Yeah.
it was like the eighth graders, and we like practice with them and whatnot. So I guess maybe with the seventh graders, I was little.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I was a small kid growing up too. I think that it's a shame they use the really big goal 6x6 in the youth, because a lot of times youth goalies ask me like, well, what do I do for the high shots? Right. And I'm just like, I don't know, because you're going to grow. So I don't want you to like, play in this different style of, or learn the position in a different way. I don't know. I think youth leagues should use the smaller goals. Don't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. All right. All right. We got that figured out. What was it about the goalie position that that drew you to it?
I don't know. I just feel like saving the ball and like being that last kind of defense for the team was something that like always just intrigued me.
Mhm.
So
Awesome. And you grew up in New York, yeah?
mhm.
So, kind of I imagine there's a lot of good lacrosse programs, good lacrosse coaches. Like once you sort of stuck with the with this position, how'd you go about learning how to make the saves?
So I obviously started playing a lot of travel. I remember going, like, I played on so many different travel teams. I feel like there was always a tournament every weekend, and my dad was a huge help. Once I started playing lacrosse and my two sisters, my mom told me like a story, like he'd be in the bedroom and have his computer, he'd have the TVs up, like he was learning all the rules to the sport, like in every position, because he played men's lacrosse, but
Okay.
he also wanted to help coach us like the best he could. Um, so yeah, I just started playing a lot of travel, on a lot of different travel teams. And then in seventh grade, I tried out for our junior varsity team and I made it. And then shortly after that, like a couple weeks after, the varsity coach pulled me up. So I actually played 6 years on my varsity team in high school.
That's crazy. I got to talk about that. But first, going back to your dad, because there's a lot of lacrosse goalie dads who are in the same situation, right? Or goalie moms for that matter, especially with the growth of lacrosse, where like, maybe they played, maybe they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they played attack, right? But very rarely do you find like, I'm a goalie, I know everything, I'm going to teach you everything. So he went through and just sort of studied and learned the position, and then helped you as a goalie, or did you get most of your goalie knowledge from those traveling coaches?
He was the one who helped me learning that position and stuff, and then going to travel and then just going to different camps and whatnot. Like I will say though, how my game has changed like over the years. Like I look at pictures from like each year and my position changing, and it was like over that time, like finding my own style. And I took little things from every coach that like I did have, and then figured out like what worked best for me. So it was kind of a little bit of everything. He definitely was the one though who kind of learned that position to get me started with knowing what to do in the goal.
That's cool. What is your style now? What have you found works really well for you, and what have you found, oh, that's, that works great for this goalie, but that's just not for me?
So I would say my style is more aggressive. I like to act as an eighth defender. I love interceptions. I love ground balls. Like,
Yeah.
I like to play a higher arc than sitting back. I feel like I want to do everything I can to get the ball back for my team, as well as obviously saving it. So I would say my style is definitely more so aggressive than kind of just like waiting back for the shot.
Yeah, that was my style too. And I love that style. One thing about it is like, even if you're not having like a great save day, like, because there's days where like you're just not seeing the ball so well, and
Mhm.
you're letting ones in that in your head you're like, dang it, I've made that save 1,000 times. But if you're one of those goalies that wins ground balls around the crease, picks off passes, leads fast breaks on the clears, like you can really impact the game that way. So I that's what I love about that style.
Me too.
Awesome. All right. So you played varsity as a seventh grader. So you're not even in high school, right? Like you're not even in high school yet, and you're playing on the varsity team. How do you do that? I'm sure like there's a lot of goalies, maybe not a lot, but some, small fraction of goalies who are in that scenario, and they're thinking like, wow, like I'm really scared to go play with these high schoolers. How did you approach that situation?
So at first, like obviously varsity was not like they had a goalie that was on varsity already, but she was someone who played field hockey and they didn't have a goalie. So they had her come play as the goalie for the varsity team. And it was exciting going and trying out with all my other friends. Like when we were in seventh grade, like we all made the JV team together. So we all had each other. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as like the coach told me I was going up, I was definitely scared. I was a little like string bean. Like there's a picture that I have and I look so funny. I have my shin guards on. Like it's like literally head to toe in gear. And like these girls are like way taller than me in front of the net. I there was a lot of tears definitely for in games. Um, what I did to kind of like get out of that is my dad was a huge help and he's like, it has to get through the whole team to get to you. And that's something I still live by, like when I do get in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also the girls on the team were so welcoming and it was like really easy. And like as each year went on, I just felt myself like, especially the mental part, getting stronger. So
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the mental game quite a bit later, but yeah, that's a good point. Is like, a lot of times the problems that the problems that we have in our head are exactly that. Like we're just inventing them in our head. And then you get out on the field with the girls and you're like, oh, these girls are awesome. And they're
yeah.
rooting for me, right? And they want me to do great, right? And they want, we're all having fun out here. So a lot of times, you start inventing these problems in your head and they never even come to be. So just keep that in mind. Um, your favorite part about being a lacrosse goalie, Mackenzie, what is it?
Um, my favorite part would be like when I come up with a big save, if it's like at the end of a half or the end of the game. Or honestly, though, like with that being said, the most fun part for me is being able to come out of the crease and get an interception. When I get an interception, my whole body, like, I'm hyped up, like, I'm ready to go. Like, I just think it's so fun, like, being able to do that and come out and then be able to reset and goal if, like, I need to, when I need to.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we got to get the rule changed so that women lacrosse goalies can score, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. How do we do that? How do we do
That's what
that?
I'm saying.
Yeah, I keep talking about it on each podcast, and maybe we'll make it happen. I feel like you'd be up there on the list of first women's lacrosse goalies to score a goal when they change the rule, right?
My coach, she like so I also like with playing goalie, I learned the field positions as well because I wanted to know defense so I'd be able to do my best to communicate with the defense. So I've played like every position on the field. Like when I wouldn't be in goal, if for my one travel team, we had another goalie and I was already committed to Rutgers at the time. So my travel coach was like, yeah, just hop on the field. Like I let the other goalie play so she can get some looks. And I just loved learning those positions and like going down and scoring. It was kind of like a little break, which was fun. So my coach now, like today, we did a shooting shuttle at the end of practice, and she'll let me like hop in the shooting shuttle to get a few ribs off.
I love it.
Definitely need to change that rule so I can go down and score.
Yeah. Um, well, that's really great that you played the other positions. I think that benefits goalies tremendously. I actually started as a midi myself. So like I knew offense, I knew defense, I knew how to shoot. And I think those really like, and not only that, like, just the stick skills that you learn, like learning to catch and throw with a shorty, like translate into saves. What do you think, playing in the field, what do you think that did? Or how do you think that helped your goalie game in particular?
I think my overall like field awareness and being able to kind of recognize things when for my defense to help them if they need to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like if they need to fix something or if I'm seeing something, like I'll be able to help them to be
Yeah.
better. So
Yeah.
knowing those positions. And then I would say also like not even on the field, but off the field, like doing wall ball and stuff. Like I'll use my field stick to work on my left hand. So when I do give my goalie stick, like it's so much easier and I've already like practiced like that as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like if you know how to even like, let's say you know how to play on ball defense, right? And then you're playing with your youth club team and like a girl's not doing it the right way. Like you could be that second coach and like offer the friendly tip of like, hey, here's how you do it, right? Because there's only one coach, right? And sometimes on those teams, there's 30, 35 girls or 20, 25 girls, right? And so if you can be that second coach, you get a little bit of well, you help the team one, but then you get a little bit more like leadership and respect amongst those girls, I think. Awesome. Who did you watch a lot of lacrosse growing up? And if so, like, you know, who were some of the goalies that like you really like to watch?
Honestly, I don't even like remember. I just remember games always being on and just like I see now, like I try to follow and it was something that like I never knew like as a kid, like everyone's name and stuff. Like I would see like these goalies play. Definitely there was the University of Michigan goalie. I went to camp there because that's the one school I always wanted to go to. So when they started their lacrosse camps there, I went every single year.
Cool.
I think it was like seventh, eighth, and my freshman year maybe. And they ended up committing one of the goalies that was there, and that was someone like I look like she had a very aggressive style as well. Yeah, so that was someone that I definitely looked up to then, but I just constantly like always my dad would have games on and just watching and seeing the different styles.
Love it. Love it. So you guys would fly out to Michigan every summer specifically for this camp. And was it a goalie specific camp or no? It was like just a whole
It was a
yeah,
whole camp. But my mom's family is from Michigan, so it
got
kind
it.
of yeah, so we got to be able to see them and stuff too.
Yeah, yeah. How did that sometimes you know, goalies really want to go to a particular school, right? And then they go to a you know, like a tryout day or prospect day or even a camp, right? And it's like they really build it up in their head, especially let's say you don't have family in Michigan and like your family's just going only for this camp. You know what I mean? Like how do you deal with those nerves? How do you like stay calm even though like you're sort of in this in your mind, it's a really important moment.
Um, I would say what I tell myself is just to have fun and do what I do. I play the sport
Yeah.
because I love it. I play the sport because it's fun. So I think in those situations, just getting the most out of it, but trying not to get in my head and thinking about too much and just doing like what I grew up doing,
Right.
which is fun.
Have fun, right? I mean, yeah, I gave that piece of advice to a young goalie the other day because he was telling me that, you know, what like he I forget what the story was, but he essentially was like having a bad go. And I asked him like, why did he start playing? And he's like, because it was really fun. And I'm like, boom, there it is, right? Like that's what you got to get back to. You got to get back to that fun. A lot of times when you lose that fun element, whether it be because you have pressure on you or whether it be because X, Y, and Z, like that's when you start playing bad and don't have fun with the sport.
Yeah, I definitely recently because here at Missouri Western now I don't have a backup goalie. So I know we're going to talk about the mental part, but one thing that has been hard is mentally like being that only goalie.
Yeah.
And I had after our first game this season, I was definitely stressing and in my head because it's been something that I've been working with like all preseason. And after that game, I talked to my goalie coach and he just reminded me and my head coach reminded me that like I like do play for the little girl that loved the sport and I needed to be reminded that I'm here to have fun. I'm not gonna play lacrosse for the rest of my life. Like I need to live in the moment and have fun and do what I know how to do. So that's something I actually had to come back to and be like, I'm doing this because I love it and it's fun.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. How do you guys only have one goalie? Did another one get hurt, or that was just that's the setup?
There was two. So when I came in for the inaugural, when I transferred in here. It was me and another girl, but she happened to transfer at the end of the year last year.
Yeah.
And the goalie coming in, she ended up not being able to come. So
Got it.
it's just me.
There it is. There it is. Holding down the fort, Mackenzie. Love it. So I want to talk about your recruiting experience a little bit. It sounds like you might have had your heart set on Michigan. Didn't work out. But you end up going to Rutgers. So talk to me about, that whole experience.
So I committed to Rutgers my sophomore year of high school. Super excited, like remember it like it was yesterday. I went there for 2 years and it ended up not being my home. I felt like I needed to be somewhere else. And so I entered the portal and I told my dad, I was like, I'm not gonna reach out to any schools, like, because I know like God has a plan and like the school that wants me, like, and where I need to be is going to reach out. And at the time, Missouri Western reached out to me and I didn't even come out here for a visit, but the head coach who started the program, the vision for it and for me, being a part of a program and starting it from the ground up was something that was really meaningful to me and what I wanted to do. I knew it wasn't going to be easy coming into a team with it being the first team ever. Like I knew we weren't going to be the greatest. I knew I was going to see a lot of shots, so I mentally had to prepare for that, but I saw the vision and I wanted to be a part of that vision. So finding this school was definitely, leaving New York and the East Coast and Rutgers was extremely hard, but being here now and seeing the progress we already made into year 3, looking back on it, I would not change my decision at all.
That's amazing. Missouri Western State University Lady Griffins. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go. When you say Rutgers wasn't for me, what does that mean? What were some of the feelings that you were feeling? Out of place? I want to be a starter, but I don't see a path for it. Or help me understand that a little bit more, if you could.
I would say we didn't have a goalie coach when I was there. I was there my first year. We had 3 coaches. They all left in my second year. We had 3 new coaches and I didn't have a specific goalie coach, and it was very difficult. And I felt like my style of play and what I loved from the game was being changed, and that aggressive part was kind of taken away from me. And I started to kind of get in my head a lot, with changing things, not coming up with as many saves in practice because I was in my head because I was doing something completely different than how I knew how to play the game. And it just got to the point where I was like, I need to go somewhere where I feel like my game is going to impact the team and my style of play. And eventually it was time to kind of make that decision. It was not easy. I thought I was going to be at Rutgers my whole, committing there my sophomore year. I thought that's where my home was going to be, but plans do change and people do enter the portal, which I had to tell myself, this is normal. It's okay if this is not where you are fitting in. Right. And that's totally fine. And I found a place where I do fit in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you didn't mention the Michigan thing though. Was that, after they had committed another, go ahead.
So obviously with being a goalie, they only commit goalies every certain amount of classes. It's not like the field position where you get this many girls from each class. It's right. Oh, if we have the 2 classes back to back, we're not going to do the 2018 class. And Michigan happened to have their goalies already set and weren't recruiting a goalie in my class. So that was definitely a hard one to swallow. I was upset, but it ended up, I talked to a lot of other schools, and Rutgers ended up being the one at the time that I absolutely loved. I saw myself there. I went there for 2 years, and
yeah. Well, here's the thing. College is playing college lacrosse, the whole experience to me is so amazing that you may have your heart set on one particular school, but there's so many amazing options. And I've heard so many times goalies having that story of I wanted to go to A, ended up not working out, I ended up going to B, and B ended up being the perfect fit. Or maybe just for you at Rutgers, it was what you needed at the moment. And now you end up settling on C, where you're having an incredible experience. So keep that in mind. That's what I want to say. Awesome. What do you think for you was the trickiest part once you get to college? The trickiest part about transitioning to college and college lacrosse?
I would say the speed of the game. Definitely the shots, a lot harder, a lot
Mhm.
scarier coming into that. And that transition was definitely really tough, especially like the workouts and just the difference in intensity, I would say. And obviously that comes with you doing it every single day and getting used to it. But that beginning, like I remember first semester was definitely a rough one.
Mm, that's that's interesting. That the speed of the game, I hear that all the time, and it's interesting for me because I have like a very unique story. I learned to play goalie as a freshman in college, so like that's the only speed that I know. So
Yeah,
it's not like I had to
that's
get used to the
awesome.
speed of the game. I was like, this is the speed. But
Yeah.
how did you? Is there specific things that you did to get used to the speed of the game, or do you think it's just a matter of experience?
I would say it was just a matter of experience. Like
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my teammates actually the other night about it. She's a sophomore here and she was getting a little bit frustrated. And I was like, don't be, because you are having the opportunity to step on the field. And every time you step on that field, you're going to know what you need to work on. And that you're gonna be end up being better from this. And by the time you are like me, like when you are a senior, and I'm as me right now, I'm a fifth year. But now where I'm at, like I look back to when I first started and getting in my head, and I looked back on those mistakes and just like took it to see where I could get better. And now where I'm at, like it all came with like each game, each practice, and
Mm,
just getting better over time. So I definitely think experience was a huge thing for me.
yeah. What during which year do you think you improved the most?
Um, I would say like in college,
Yeah,
would
in
you say?
college. Yeah, in college.
Honestly, I would say probably I would say this year. I feel
Nice.
like um my first 2 years here where I the team was like we did very good for a first and second year. I was very successful. Um I felt really good, but this season so far, I know we're just in the beginning of it, but I just feel like a huge difference I'm making. I've been talking with a goalie coach and we've been making like little tiny changes to improve my game just a little more and working on that mental part of it, like just like even more. Like obviously that's something you work on continuously, like playing goalie. But this year definitely with being that only goalie, I've had to emphasize like that mental aspect as well as with like reps in practice and stuff, and kind of fixing like what position do I need to put myself in to be the most successful. So I really do think this year would be the year that I've seen the most improvement in myself.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. Still getting better and better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not only is your dad the coach, he's also a huge Mac fan, and he posted in
Oh,
the Facebook group. Mackenzie Porter breaks 300 saves at Missouri Western. So congratulations on that, and a record 12 ground balls. Talking about that athletic style, right? 12. That's amazing. So
I love how.
congratulations on surpassing 300 saves in your career
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
thank you.
Um, so I want to talk a little bit about the mental game. One thing that's very unique, as you mentioned, is you're the only goalie. Do you think that factors into your mental game? Are there some are there some pros? Are there some cons going on there? What do you think?
So usually like when people hear like you're the only one in your position, they're like, "Oh, like that's awesome." Like like you're always going to star, and I'm like, "It's really not that awesome," because I didn't think it was going to be so hard mentally. I was like, "Oh, I've dealt with so many different things, like struggles, like all the hurdles like I've jumped." I was like, "This is just another one." Um as like preseason went on and we got into season, one thing I struggled with the most mentally was like the like amount of reps and stuff, because
Yeah.
I would try to think that I had to stay in for all of them, and then that was messing with me because I just like started getting my head because I was seeing double the amount of shots that I typically would when we did have another goalie. So that's something I had to work on, like making sure I'm giving myself breaks. I 10, sometimes I've had some crying sessions at practice. I'm not even gonna lie. Just kind of getting in my head and feeling like, because I hold myself to a very high standard, and especially in practice, and like thinking back if we had our previous game, like what I could have done better, and then like the same shot happening in practice, and kind of just getting in my head. So it's definitely been tough being the only goalie, and I didn't think it was gonna be,
I would think
but
when you first said that, my initial thought was, wow, that's got to be tough. One, for the reason you mentioned, right? It's like sometimes you get hit in the thigh, you get hit in the knee, or like, you just like, I don't know, give up a bad goal. You're not having a good day. And you can always like rely on that backup, like, hey, take over for a second, right? Like jump in and like keep doing this drill. So that's one, you don't have that benefit. Two, like, you know, goalies is a very unique position, right? And no one understands what we go through other than other lacrosse goalies. So like at a certain time, like they're there and they understand like exactly what you're going through. And so it helps to have that other goalie on the team that you can sort of confide in and talk to.
yeah.
So
So
anyway, when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's gotta be tough.
yeah, with you saying that, that was like something that my coach brought up to me too. She was like, I know it's tough because you don't have anyone to even like go back to and like talk to, like after like say a goal goes in, or like when you are in your head, like getting it off your chest. So what we did do to kind of help with that is my sister is a freshman here.
Oh, nice.
And she's an attacker, but she actually is redshirting this year. So when we're in practice now, like she'll come and she'll stand behind the goals. So and she'll kind of remind me if I do need to step out, if she sees me like getting in my head, or if I need to, if I'm like been in there for too long. Cause sometimes I do that where I don't even like step out. I just take a lot of reps and don't even, she's like, okay, Mac, like come on out for a second.
Yeah.
But then I'll be able to like talk to her. And if I am in my head and feeling myself kind of getting frustrated, she's someone who kind of acts as like, I do have another goalie there, just in the way of me being able to kind of get it off my chest and forget about it and get back in.
Yeah, that's really important. That's really, I'm glad that you got her to sort of act as that role, right? Act as that role. You really need that. Tactical wise, like how, if you need a break, how did you work that out with your coach? Is that something you chatted with them beforehand? Like, hey, sometimes I need a break. I'm just going to step out where I have no goalie for a second.
Yeah, my coach, so she saw me struggle like in the fall, saw me definitely like taking more reps, and then on some of the reps, like I wouldn't be going 100% because I would be
Yeah.
like, I'd get hit like so many times, and I'll be scared of the ball. And when you're scared of the ball, you don't want, you kind of, your body automatically like moves away from it after being hit. So,
Yeah.
and I would try to just stay in after that. So we kind of just talked, and she was like, you can give yourself breaks, like it's okay. So which I really like. Coach Berg, my coach, she kind of, with me being the only goalie, she's very what's the word I'm looking for? She encourages me to do what I need to do to kind of succeed and being
Mm,
able to do my job. So
yeah.
she's okay. Like if I get like hit or whatnot, she'll even be like, okay, Porter, step out. Like you're good. You can take a few off. But yeah, so it's been very, that in that aspect, it's helped a lot with her like being okay with me if I do need a break, and like even mentally, like after warm-ups sometimes, like I'll like be in like just starting off practice, like I'll already be in my head. She'll give me a second to kind of cool down, take that second, and then get back into the drills, which is really nice.
Yeah. When you get into your head, what does that look like for you? What kind of things are you saying to yourself, or even to others? And then how do you go about attacking that? Because that's, you know, I posted a video the other day of this goalie that you could just see it. You could just see it unfolding. Like he gives up a bunch of goals, and it's like, oh, I'm not even supposed to be here. Like and so like you just kind of see it unraveling. What does it look like for you, and how do you overcome that?
I would say for me, it will be obviously like if I'm not like seeing the ball that day, and I just like am telling myself like I'm not gonna see it, I'm not saving it, and then it's slowly like then I'm really not seeing the ball, and I'm not even tracking it because I'm already telling myself I'm not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but how I do get out of that is I have to tell myself, like even in games when it happens, I'm like track and attack, like attack the ball, like attack the shot to the path of the shot, just go step to it, because then you're more likely to get it. So I have to like kind of that positive self-talk when I do get in that negative self-talk to begin with. That's how I try to get out of it. But if that doesn't happen, then it's like slowly going down with more negative, like, oh, I can't save a shot today. Like, I suck. Like, why can't I save a shot? And you don't realize how much it affects you when you do have that negative self-talk until you do positive self-talk. And then you realize, like, okay, wait, why was I even bringing myself down to begin with? If I was just like, oh, I got this next one, and having that 1 second memory, I wouldn't have found myself deep in this hole in my mental state.
Love it.
So
Love it. 100% agree. 100% agree, right? Like the words and the stories that you tell yourself, like, absolutely matter. Absolutely matter, right? And if you're going to feed negativity and garbage into your head, like, oh, I should have had that one. Oh, I'm a bad goalie. Oh, I'm letting everyone down. It's only going to, like, you're only going to play worse. But if each time you give up a goal, you can, get back and think positively. And even I love how you have a lot of people have these little phrases, positive affirmations, track and attack. I love that, right? Track and attack, and get right back into the flow. Like, you're going to be a better goalie and have more fun.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that I've always used, and especially like this year, like after one goes in, I'm like, okay, track and attack. You got this next one. Just step 2, attack the ball.
Yeah. Is the mental game something that you talk about with your coach?
Yes. A lot.
Yeah. What kind of things what kind of lessons is it a she, what kind of things has she taught you? Or what kind of things you talk about?
Well, yeah, it's her, and then also she just connected me too with the goalie coach that was at the college she was at. And so I've been like talking to, so he's been helping as well. So the both of them kind of the biggest part is just having that positive self-talk, but I think the thing that we talk about the most is like her reminding me that I'm a good goalie, that I'm a great goalie, that I can do this. I've done it. I've been doing it for years, and I just need to have fun. And I think that's the biggest thing to talk about, is that fun aspect. Like, I do my best when I'm having fun. I don't do my best when I'm not having fun and I'm in my head.
Yeah. It's so amazing how the human mind works, right? Like you practice for 1,000 hours and you see 10,000 shots and you get all these accolades and you play varsity as a 7th grader, and yet when the day before the game, your mind is like, oh man, like, you're not that good, and you just need someone else to be like, hey, wait a minute, like, you are good, right? Like, trust yourself, trust all that training, and let's go get them, right? I mean, sometimes just a little pep talk like that can put you right back can put you in the mindset that you need, right? Yeah, that's awesome. What about pregame? Talk me through a little pregame routine that you've got. Let's see, you guys, you mentioned you're traveling down to Georgia. Well, let me pull up the schedule here. We're recording this March 21st, 22nd, tomorrow, yeah? At Shorter. Let's go. What's your pregame routine look like to get ready?
So, well, I have to this is gonna be very detailed because
all right, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
So we wake up, we eat our breakfast, whatnot. This every game too, even home games. I have to straighten my hair because my hair needs to be straight under my helmet. Then just
hold on. Quick question on the hair. There's not that many options that girls got for the hair, right? You got to go long ponytail coming out the back of the helmet, yeah? Low ponytail coming out the back of the helmet.
Yeah, I started because I cut my hair. Quick story. I cut my hair my first year at Missouri Western, so it was very short, so I couldn't even, like, the little ponytails looked like just like little nubs. So I started doing like 2 buns.
Okay.
And then as my hair got longer, I kept like the pigtail thing. I don't know. I used to like hate when I saw pigtails like under helmets. I'm like, what is that? And now I do it. It's my thing. So I always put my hair in 2 low pigtails.
Okay.
And then after straightening it.
Yep.
And then
yep.
I can't forget that. And then just listening to music, getting hyped with my team. My eye black, it's the same every single game. Gotta have that. And then, so that's
Which
just
if I could touch on that, by the way. So like there's, on the male side, there's a lot of people say like Drake Porter has the coolest style of like the lacrosse goalies. I think Mac Porter on the female side has the coolest style. You got the eye black going, you got the all black uniforms, you got the tights, you got a good look going there.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So you got the eye black, and then explain if someone hasn't seen it. I'll post a pic when this comes out, but explain how you do your eye black.
So I do like it comes down, I come here, and that's like I don't even know what the shape is, but it ends up coming in here. It's like this, and then here, and then all of this is covered. So like it's my eyes are completely covered in eye black all the way down my face.
Yeah. I like it. All right. So you got the music, got the eye black. Anything else?
That's just the stuff off the field. Then once we're on the field, I do my typical. We have my own warm up. I kind of do. We keep it consistent, so I do the same thing in practice too, which I just started doing. But off the field, yeah, it's my hair, my eye black, getting pumped, listening to music.
Cool. What is it on the field? I'd love to if you could go through the same level of detail.
Yeah, so on the field, once I get in to see shots, my head coach warms me up, and I start with the drill. Or I do tennis balls first. I love doing tennis balls. I did that in high school too, just getting my hands moving, and I just think it's so fun. Honestly, it gets my blood going, my adrenaline starts pumping. So we do that, and then I do a drill where I have my stick on the ground, and I'm kind of in like a more like wide base, and then my coach just shoots anywhere high, and it's just working on isolating my hands and just kind of popping up quickly. So I do that, and then we just go into a normal warm-up, high, mid, feet, bouncers, and anywhere. And then I do a few clears with my defense, and then we do our 3v2s and whatnot. So
it's game time. It's game time. Yeah, there you go. What was that drill? I didn't quite follow. So you have your stick on the ground, meaning like your hands are on the ground and like you're on your knees and you're just coming up and making saves with your hands, or is it something different?
So you're standing up, and you're basically in your goalie stance, but you're not moving your feet at all. So you're basically like on the ground, like bended. My fist would be like touching the ground, like kind of like this, on the ground. And then I'm shooting. So I'm bent over and I'm working on shooting up in that hand speed.
Got it. Cool.
And yeah, so I like starting with that one because I just like getting my hands, like that's how I like warming up my hands, and same thing with the tennis balls.
Yeah. What about in your career? Have you had a slump, gone through a slump series of games where you're just kind of not making the saves, that you're not playing at the level that you're accustomed to? And if so, how'd you get out of that?
I would say probably there was I think it was a game last year. My slump typically sometimes is like would be like against like a certain team. Like if I had a bad game against that team, like one year, like I'm in my head already and I kind of go into the game already in that slump. And it got to the point last year when we played this team, I went over to my coach because I knew I was in my head, and I told her, I was like, hey, this is when we did have a backup. I was like, we got to put our backup in. I'm too far in my head because they scored like 3 in a row. And I was like, I'm not gonna come up with the saves. I'm not gonna help the team right now. So and I like took that step, like, and I was like, I just need a second, like, just take me out. Like, I need you to take me out because I'm not seeing the ball right now. And we did that, and I was able to kind of take a second, get out of that slump. The other goalie ended up doing very well when she went in. So that was her game, and I was okay with that because I knew I was not seeing the ball and I was not going to help the team if I was in there. So after that, though, following that practice and whatnot, going on to the next game, I tried to just forget about it. But it's that same team that just when I play a team bad, it's like oh God, like this is not going to be good, and I'm in my head already.
Oh man, yeah. You start to build it up, right? What team is that? Do you play them again, or you already played them?
We have not played them yet. It is Mackenzie.
Okay, Mackenzie coming up. Let's go. You got it.
I got him this year.
You got him this year. There you go. I love it. Yeah, to your point, like sometimes that is the best thing for a goalie is just like a break, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes, I remember I was chatting with Taylor Moreno, who in the semifinals was just getting like lit up. And like the coaches pulled her and they're like, hey, you're gonna go back in, but like clear your head, get some water, right? Like get right mentally, and then we'll put you back in. And I think that was a real cool thing that they did. Sometimes the coaches just pull a goalie and be like, don't even say anything, which I think is like for
And that
our fragile psyches, like you can't do that.
that kills you already, like getting kind of that pull and like not knowing why, and then you're like, wow, like I really like was sucking, and then you get in your
Right.
head, and that kind of is not easy. But when you know it's like, for me, when I know it's for like the benefit of the team, when I was in that position and like did have someone to come out,
Right.
my coach didn't know I was in my head because I tend to not show it. I try my best. I try to stay very composed while I'm in, and like no one can really see, like unless I'm really in my head, then like my teammates can see it, but my coach like usually can't even tell. So she's like, if you get like that, just tell me. And in that one game last year, I told her, I was like, hey, take me out, please, because
Yeah.
this is good. And even this year too, she one thing we did talk about going back to, for me mentally, one thing with games and stuff is if I do start to get in my head, she she told me that I can call, like I tell her that I need a timeout, like she'll call it so I can take that second since I don't have a backup this year. And I had to do that the first game. I didn't think I was going to, but it was against Northern Michigan, and I felt myself. I was getting worked up, and I looked at her and I was like, please, like, and she called it. I took a second, talked to my sister. She calmed me down. I got back in there, and then everything was, it was much better. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome that, yeah, she gives you that benefit of, being able to essentially call your own timeout, if you will.
mhm,
Yeah, I was thinking about that because a lot of goalies, you can really tell when they're in their own head. Like they're doing like big physical gestures or like hitting the pipe or slamming the stick or like, like kind of moving their hands in a real I'm in my head type of way. But like for people who are not like that, who kind of deal with it by themselves, sometimes it could be really hard to diagnose, right? And you
mhm.
can and so in that case, how do you do that? Is that just the coach like doing exactly what your coach did? Like, hey, I know you're like this. You ever get like this, let me know and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that, and then also like when 'cause I did mention how when my teammates see me getting in my head, and sometimes it's either with I'm not saving the shot, or if the other team like just kind of like, because obviously sometimes the attitude from like it's bickering and you want to get angry, and sometimes the anger when you're getting there, and when my teammates, like my defense sees me, like we came up with this, I came up with this thing to help me get out of my head, but I actually use it for my defenders too. Like if they try, like if there's an 8 meter and they try like arguing with the refs or trying to say like what, I like will look at them and I'm just like, stay cool, like we got to take this 8 meter anyway. So like this is our thing. I'll do it a lot like when we have 8 meters. One of my teammates who plays midfield, it started with her doing it with me. If she saw me at all, she would just look at me and just go like this. And it's kind of just transitioned to now like all my defenders know if they see me getting upset. And it's typically when they know is when I'm not really going into huddles or whatnot. And they'll just look at me, they're like, Porter, Porter. And
They just hit you with
that's
it.
it.
You can't hear it on the audio if you just listen to the podcast, but she's doing the shaka. Me and my wife went to Hawaii and learned this was called the shaka with the pinky extended and the thumb extended. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, having some sort of symbol, right, is
Mhm.
huge. I know when I played, like we had this one which was kind of like flushing a toilet, which is like just flush it, right? Like, get rid of it. So it was like this
Yeah.
little flush gesture.
Mhm.
And for us, that was like, all right, that play happened. Like, guy hit the shot of his life, never going to happen again. Let's move on, right? Well, very cool. Well, good luck, Mac, in this upcoming season. So is this it, fifth and final year, or we got one more
No,
left in us?
I got a 6th year, but
Yeah, let's go. Let's
yeah.
go. All right. Actually, before we go, I want to ask you one question because you've played both Division I lacrosse, right, at Rutgers and D3,
D2.
D2, and D2 lacrosse. Talk to me a little bit about some of the differences and some of the similarities that you see.
I would say, honestly, I would say like, for me, I feel like there wasn't like too much of a difference because I just looked at it like I'm playing lacrosse. Obviously, I would say non-lacrosse wise, Rutgers is a huge school and Missouri Western is a lot smaller of a school. So the transition from that. But like team wise and whatnot, so to me, it was, I'm just on another team.
Yeah.
The competition we play, like we're in the same conference as UND. And when Lindenwood, before they went D1, like we were playing Lindenwood our first 2 years. So being in that competitive conference with teams who've won the D2 national championship was pretty awesome. And kind of seeing that level of play was just as fast. So I would say it wasn't too different. It's still the very high level and I love it. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's a great option. I mean, I think a lot of people have their heart set on D1, but D2 is great, D3 is great. Even playing in the MCLA like I did, I had an amazing experience. So always keep those open. Mac, pleasure to meet you. I've seen so many photos and videos of you in the Facebook group and around, but it's great to chat with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, if you had to leave the goalies out there with a final piece of advice, I know you coach, right? What final piece of advice would you give them?
Have fun. I said it multiple times throughout this podcast. Have fun. You're going to get in your head. It's completely normal. But we play this game because we love it. So,
Mac, thank you so much.
thank you so much.